Why do we practice?
So welcome to my roof, or our roof of our apartment block. You're going to have to deal with some Indian sounds, and I don't know what the light's going to look like sitting up here. And this video is for you here watching on YouTube or wherever, but it's also, of course, really aimed at the Authentic Living newsletter group, our Authentic Living network. And it's also for the open space. So this is our satsang. But after the first bit of this, I'll stop the authentic living bit and we'll go more into satsang, as it were. But I just thought today I'd record it all in one go. I hope you're doing really well. Happy New Year if you do that sort of thing. Depends where you're standing and what system that you're moving through, depending on what year it is. Common era is 2026. Of course, it's many other things, depending, as I say, on where you stand. And I thought for our sort of second authentic living video, and also to open up the satsang, we look at why we practice, because it's not a question that gets asked enough. Usually things are put forward as kind of, you meditate to get this result and you meditate to get that result. That's been a certain presentation style we've been given with the commodification of spiritual practices and the capitalization of them over the last 50, 60 years. And we've seen them being kind of reduced a lot. I don't want to talk about that much, actually, because it's very easy to talk about the system that exists rather than just getting on with it. So this is for those who just want to get on with it. And so I don't know how your day started today, but my day started with my first ever Indian funeral. Somebody that I've known for many, many years passed away last night, and the body is burnt within 24 hours. So we were at the fire this morning. And just as I was thinking, okay, what should I talk about in this video? And we'll talk about practice. And I was going to say all these other things. And then this happens. And of course, so the reason we practice is because we're going to die. Isn't that nice? We practice because we're going to die. And it's all right having that as a kind of an abstract thought, or that in your thoughts and all that sort of thing. And I'm not saying this as a way to kind of scare us into practice or anything. I don't believe in that way of doing stuff. There are many traditions that try to use fear to get you to practice. I grew up in one of those traditions, Catholicism, and it was all about fear and guilt. And so those things didn't really work for yours truly. But what we have to consider is that in our lives we will try everything to not be here. I don't know how we've got to this. Well, I do, but I'm not going to do all that right now. And so we try living by making plans, and we try living by making bargains and by trying to have power over other people, and we say that things are real when actually they're only agreements, and they're only agreements that are brought around by the gun and by the bomb and by the greed and so on. And so we say, this line I make here, this is a real thing. And you can't cross this line because this is my side of the line and that's your side of the line. And even like the number 2026 common era, that's an agreement that we have, but what we do is we mistake these agreements and the symbols that these agreements represent. We mistake them for the truth. There's a plane going over. Can't see it. I'm sitting right. The sun is going to go down right there, so that's why I'm sitting up here. And so we mistake our impositions and our agreements for what is, and then we plan and we scheme and we cajole and we try to operate within those systems, and nothing works, actually, not really. It's not gonna get us where we need to be. And then even when you're presented with like spiritual ideas, the ideas of awakening or enlightenment and so on, we take those as belief systems and we try to push into those. I believe this, and if I act in this way, then this will get me closer to that. But we do it trying to stack the odds for ourselves. And I'm not one for this kind of 3D, 5D business, We live in the material world. And yet, all dimensions take place in the material world. It's a bit like, if you think about a room. Most people think a room, when you walk into a room, is all the furniture and the books and the TV set and all that sort of thing. And we say nice room or tidy room, untidy room, whatever. But actually the room is the space that the activity takes place in. And so if we're thinking in that kind of dimensionality sort of terminology, you might think of the contents of the room, the material reality in that way, as being the objects in the room. But as we practice, we actually become aware of the room itself, and what that actually means, because then we actually come to realize that it's the space in the room. And in fact, even if you took the walls of the room away, the space has always been there, and that's how we are. That's what we're really like. And so the reason to practice, I suppose, is so that you awaken to the true light of yourself, the awareness of who you really are. And all other justifications for practice, like I want to be more focused, or I want to be better at my job, and this, that, the other, those things are not really what the practice is about. The practice is really about the light or the awareness that is through all things. And you can't get to know that by believing in it, and you can't get to know that by hoping and wishing and bargaining and planning. All you can do is, and it's so simple that it's almost unbelievable in a way. A favorite teacher of mine says this is why so many people struggle with enlightenment, because it's so simple that everybody thinks it's got to be something else. And it's just so simple, because it is just literally that awareness, and it's not a one and done thing. What happens is that as we begin to know the light of our true selves, at first we kind of we have to kind of begin to individually sort of embody that. And it feels like kind of we're separate from the world, you know that phrase, in the world but not of it. And for a long time I thought that was true. I thought, oh, I'm in the world but not of it, after this, whatever you would call it, realized itself through my life. But what I actually found is that the ordinary life is still where you live. And so you live both the illuminated or enlightened life and the ordinary life simultaneously. You don't escape from the world. The world is, but it's not what we think it is, Everything that we use to try and point at things is just a symbol. And that doesn't mean to say that then it is a delusion, but it's our imposition as to what that symbol means that is the delusion, you see. So when you hear, say, a Buddhist say, or the Buddhists say things like, you know, all this is illusion kind of thing, that's not entirely true. Because it's not. It's what we project that is the illusion. But there is still a thing. So we become cognizant of that. You know, I love the word cognizant. It's a very good thing. So the essential quality, perhaps, of illumination or knowing the light of your true self is cognizance. And you can't even hold on to it. This is the thing. You can't hold on to it. What you do is you do your daily practice. And it is the truth of yoga, and it is the truth of the true meditation practices. It's the truth of any faith that is made to be of service in a sincere way. And then you find that this one path, and this is pretty much what I don't like the word teach, but I will use it. This is pretty much all I teach, is that there is one path through all things. No matter where you start from, if you are sincere in it, and you allow the truth of it in your heart, there is one path that is the path of illumination. And so it doesn't really matter where you come from or who you are, or anything like that. You know, your background, your wealth, your status, your religion, any of those things. But it's only knowable and embodiable by turning up with it each day, because the world of plans and things as we have made it, we've designed it absolutely uniquely to keep us away from the light of ourselves. And that's a heck of a thing we've spent our history doing, you know. Absolutely wild. And I'll pick that back up in a minute in the open space satsang section of this. But for now, I'll close out this bit, the authentic living section. And I just want to say hello to this pigeon that's over here joining in and saying hello to us. And thank you for being here. But let me know what you think in the comments below on the YouTube. And you open spaces, you can pop me an email, you know, or you authentic living people, you pop me an email if you have some thoughts on this. Why do you practice? And, you know, has anything I said here given you a little pause, perhaps, you know, around what that is? Because we are loaded up with beliefs. And you begin to realize that actually they're not your beliefs, as it were. You know, somebody put them there. That's the whole thing. That's what school is for. That's what family does. That's what the whole social system does. It tells you who you are and how to be a person. And yet you have to do that so that you can actually realize that you're not it. I'm very lucky in that I was born this way. And even at 4 years old, I remember I used to hide behind the couch at James Place, which was one of the first houses I remember living in. And I can remember sitting behind the couch like I used to do, because it was like a little world of my own that I'd made back there. And I just knew that I knew my own consciousness, as it were. And then I kind of had to lose that in the programming, as it were, to regain it. And yet there's no difference. The line has never been erased. It just got covered over for a long period of time because I fell into believing in the conditioning. I can squarely remember sitting there, looking at my parents going, because my dad was still around in those days. I can remember sitting there going, I'm not like these people. They're mad. And then not knowing what the heck to do with that, you know. And then it rose up again in my teens, and eventually I managed to kind of kill myself off a bit, and kind of try to make myself fit into the world and believe I was failing at everything. And we all do that, of course. That's part of the individuation process, and then the practice gets you. So do your practice. If you want one resolution for the new year, it's do your practice. And hopefully I'll see you soon. Lots of love.